All right, today we're tackling a huge name, David Harvey. If you've ever wondered why our cities look the way they do, who really benefits from all that development, then you're in the right place. We're going to dig into his powerful ideas, so let's get right into it. I mean, just think about it for a second. You see these brand new, gleaming skyscrapers shooting up into the sky, right? But then, maybe just a few blocks over, you find communities that are really struggling. How is that possible? How can you have so much incredible progress right next to so much inequality? It's this paradox that really defines almost every modern city. Well, it turns out this isn't just some accident of history. And if we really want to understand why, we've got to look at the work of this one particular geographer. This is a guy who spent his entire career, literally, mapping the hidden connections between money, power, and the very space we all live in. And that's really the core of our story today, this paradox. The idea that the very same forces that build these spectacular skylines and generate unbelievable wealth are also the ones creating deep, deep divisions. It's like a tale of two cities, but they're not separate. They're often on the exact same streets. So, who is this thinker with such a powerful answer to this puzzle? Let's meet the man himself, David Harvey. And look, he's not just some stuffy academic. His work has totally changed the game, fundamentally shifting how we think about the link between capitalism and the cities we all call home. Okay, so a little background on him. Harvey was born back in 1935. He's a British geographer, and he basically became one of the pioneers of a field called critical geography. His book from 1973, Social Justice and the City, wow, it sent absolute shockwaves through the academic world and pretty much cemented him as one of the most important voices on urban life for, well, the next half century. And this is where we get to his big idea, the absolute core of his argument. For Harvey, all that development we see in our cities, it's not neutral. It's not this nice, simple process designed to make life better for everyone. Nope. He argues it's really a tool that serves one main purpose: capital accumulation. In other words, making more money for people who already have money. It's about reinforcing the power structures that are already there. A good way to really get a handle on his ideas is to think of him as capitalism's mapmaker. See, when he looks at a city, he doesn't just see land and streets and buildings. He sees a landscape that is constantly being molded and reshaped by the flow of money and the endless hunt for profit. So one of his key concepts, and this is a big one, is something he calls uneven development. The idea is pretty simple, but powerful. Capitalism doesn't spread wealth around evenly. In fact, Harvey says it needs inequality to work. It's designed to create winners and losers. Think about it. You have these super wealthy core regions, the global financial centers, and they get that way by pulling in resources, money, and labor from poor peripheral areas. And that periphery could be a whole country, or it could be a neighborhood right across town. And this lays that whole dynamic out so clearly. On one side, you've got the core, where all the wealth and capital piles up. Development there, it's priority number one. But on the other side, you've got the periphery. That's where resources and labor get pulled from, and any development that happens there is usually distorted. It's designed to serve the core, not the people who actually live there. And for Harvey, this isn't a mistake. It's a feature of the system, not a bug. Now, Harvey's ideas didn't just pop up out of nowhere. His supercritical take on development puts him in a direct clash with some of the biggest names in economics and policy. So let's put them side by side and see how his arguments really stack up. Okay, first up, W. Rostow. His view was that development is like a straight line, a clear path. He had these 5 stages of economic growth, and he believed basically any country could follow them to modernize. But Harvey, he looks at that and says, no way. He argues that this progress isn't some ladder that everyone can climb. It's a system that's built to have people at the top, which means it needs people at the bottom. Then there's a thinker like Jeffrey Sachs. His focus is all about ending poverty with a big push. A huge coordinated effort of foreign aid and clever policy changes. But from Harvey's perspective, that's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a deep wound. He would argue that all that aid and all those policy tweaks, they usually fail because they never touch the root cause, the actual structure of a global system that is designed to produce poverty. And this really brings it all together. You can see the huge divide in thinking. You've got someone like Amartya Sen who says development is all about expanding people's freedoms and choices. You've got Rusto with his straight-line path to modernization. But then there's Harvey. His focus on geography, on space, on capitalism, it leads him to a much, much tougher conclusion. That development, the way we do it now, is fundamentally about making money for the few and creating inequality for the many. But hold on, Harvey isn't just about critiquing the system. He's not just doom and gloom. His work also gives us a really powerful vision for how things could be different, and it all centers around one of his most famous ideas. And this one, it's not just a theory, it's a full-on call to action. It's called the right to the city. And the idea at its core is actually pretty simple. It says that our cities shouldn't just be treated like commodities on a stock market, things to be bought and sold for the highest profit. No. They're our collective creation. And because of that, we, the people who actually live and work and breathe in them, should have the fundamental right to shape them, to decide what our cities become, how they're used, and who they're really for. And this is not just some academic daydream, okay? The right to the city has become a genuine rallying cry for movements all over the globe. It's the idea that fuels the fight for affordable housing when neighborhoods are gentrifying. It's behind the demands for public control over things like water or transportation. And it's what drives the pushback when our public spaces, our parks, our plazas get sold off to private companies. It takes the theory right down to the street level. So, when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway from David Harvey? It's this: small fixes aren't going to cut it. If we really want to build cities, and a world for that matter, that are fair and sustainable for everybody, we can't just tinker around the edges. We have to be bold enough to imagine and then fight for real systemic change. And that leaves us with one last and maybe the most important question. It's the question that all of Harvey's work really pushes us to ask ourselves. The next time you walk around your neighborhood, your town, your city, just look around and ask, who is actually making the decisions here? And maybe more importantly, who should be? Who really has the right to shape your city?